Welcome to Elevate, the podcast where we dissect exceptional achievers who are consistently raising the bar personally and professionally to produce extraordinary results in investment real estate and ultimately in their lives. Now here's your host, Tyler Chesser.
All right. Welcome to Elevate, everybody. I'm really excited, actually. This is our very, very first recording for Elevate Podcast, and I want to welcome you and I want to thank you for being with us because, this is kind of a culmination of, several years of consideration. I've been blessed enough to appear on many other podcasts, and it's always been a really fun experience because I've always learned something, whether it's just through the technical process or learn something from our discussions. And that's the beauty of these type of things, is it really kind of creates a virtual mastermind, and it's an opportunity for, my mind, someone else's mind, and maybe even your mind to kind of come together and create a third, more powerful mind. And so that's what I see Elevate as being. I see this podcast as being an opportunity for us to create, something great. At the end of the day, I'm committed to living a life of greatness, of excellence, and I want to share that with others. I want to share that with you, the audience. And, that's the big purpose for this show, is really for us to, live a life of greatness, and also to, step into our highest selves, our highest qualities. I think a lot of people live a life of mediocrity just because they don't realize what else is out there, or they're not willing to take, the uncomfortable steps towards, living a life that is maybe more in alignment with what their overall purpose is. And, I think we all have a purpose, a life that is meant for us to be lived. And so it's just a matter of, are we willing to take that leap of faith? Are we willing to, do what it takes and go through some, maybe some wilderness, so to speak. You're going to go through the dark woods, and you're going to be sort of trying to figure out, what is my path? And I think a lot of that happens, that happened to me for sure. When I graduated college, it took me years and years. And honestly, still, I'm on a journey. I mean, this is still a journey. Every single day is a new, discovery process. And so that's what I hope that this show ends up being for you and for all of us. But really, it is focused on personal development, professional development, in addition to real estate. And that's because, that's really been my path for how I've, developed some things in my life. Of course, I don't claim to be the end all be all. I know every answer. That certainly is not me. But I do feel like there are some things that I've discovered along the path. Certainly real estate in itself as a practical vehicle, really is a vehicle for creating practicality and abundance in your life, financially and otherwise, because real estate investment is one of the greatest vehicles out there. Really, I mean, you talk about cash flow, you talk about appreciation, depreciation write-offs, interest write-offs, all of the above, as well as creating multiple streams of income, and building wealth. I think a lot of people, sometimes frown upon the notion of building wealth, or money in general. And so in my opinion, I think that's a big mistake, because look, we have to be real with ourselves, right? In the real world, things cost money, and, to live your life, you've got to be able to provide. And so are you just going to trade your time for money your entire life? Certainly that can get you along the path of, giving yourself the ability of building additional streams of revenues, additional streams of income. And so real estate for me has been that, and I'll talk more about that, but we're going to do a lot of real estate talk on this show with real estate experts, across the spectrum, really. And, really, beyond that, the other keys are personal and professional development. They have been for me, for years and years. I have, really honed in this, and it's become my biggest passion, is learning and letting my curiosity drive me, letting it, sort of excite me, because every single day is so much more fun when you learn something and when you become something more. And really, I think that's the biggest thing that I've learned on this path, is that, while real estate, in addition to building practical means in your life so you can, live beyond just survival, I've learned that the key for me has always been personal development, personal growth, and in addition to that, professional growth, of course, becoming more effective in what I do. And so we're going to talk a lot about that. So some of our guests may or may not be in the real estate business, but they may or may not be related to growing themselves professionally and personally, or others. And so our mission here is to help millions of people. We want to reach millions and millions of people, because we feel like, and maybe when I say we, I'm speaking on behalf of my team here with the Chesser companies, but also I definitely believe that there's not enough people that are really truly living a life that they are fulfilled by yet. But I think that mission that we're striving to really get that message out more is like, look, here are the pieces. Here's the pieces of the puzzle. If you really want to, live a life of greatness, of fulfillment, and, live your own true purpose, and, have fun and be creative, and follow your own curiosities, because they're all different. They're all unique. And so, we're going to have a lot of fun here with guests and others, but, I want to tell you a little bit about myself, what I'm doing now, what I plan to be doing in the future, where I've come from, and just so you can kind of get to know me a little bit. And I know that we'll certainly not cover everything here, but I wanted to just introduce myself, and, I look forward to getting to know everybody. But with that said, my name is Tyler Chesser, and I'm a commercial real estate broker, also a multifamily real estate investor. In addition to, book fanatic, I read all the time. I love reading. I'm also a peak performance and business strategist coach. So I work with real estate investors all over the country, on kind of optimizing their own systems, their own blueprints, in addition to, their time management and just results. At the end of the day, it's all about results. And so that's one of the biggest, joys that I have in my life, is working with others, and on a very consistent basis, and seeing how they can really break through. And the reason why I love that is because that's been the key for me. The entire path for me has had to be self-discovery. Like, what do I know about myself? And once I know more about myself, and once I learn more about how can I optimize, my own brain, my own body, my own physiology, my own spirituality, in addition to my understanding of what I'm doing professionally, it's really helped me transcend. And so that's what I want, for you guys as well. During this show, I want you guys to be able to tap into, how you can transcend in your own life, whether or not you are a real estate investor or ever want to be. I mean, you may say, you know what, I'm interested in real estate, but I don't want to, invest myself. So look, there's so many options to get involved. There's so many ways, that you can build abundance in your life through real estate and or personal development. And so, for myself, where I've come from essentially is, I grew up sort of middle class, and we've always had a great life. In fact, my family is still, very close, and we always have a great time. In fact, it's been great, spending time with them this week, for the holiday weekend for 4th of July. And, so that's been a lot of fun. But I look back and I say, well, where have I come from? And, I've always had I would say, a fairly comfortable life. I honestly, my life has always been, it's been pretty good. I mean, we've never had to like worry about survival or anything like that. It was no major struggles, or at least that I could tell, as a kid growing up. But, as I've gotten older, and, one time in particular that really stuck out to me was when I graduated college. I really had to really then discover who I was, because before that it was, you're in school all the time, and the goal is to do well in school and to get good grades and go to college and get good grades in college, and, get an internship, and then get a job, and, get a good job, like, work in that job until you're, 65 years old, and retire. And, hopefully at that point you've put enough away in your retirement plans and you're ready to go. And so that was always the thought that I always had, which is it's not a flawed thought in all capacities, but I came to realize that perhaps it wasn't fitting for me. And so, during my 20s, my early 20s in particular, right out of college, it was a struggle, because, I felt like I followed that path exactly the way that it was described to me, and the way that I always knew it to be. I didn't really know that there was any other path, to be honest with you. We didn't have like an entrepreneurial type of a family. And, So as I started my professional life, I started to kind of get a little bit frustrated just because number one, I wasn't where I wanted to be financially. Number two, I wasn't where I wanted to be in terms of my own freedom and my time. And, just I didn't feel like I had a lot of control over my life. And so it was a little bit of a struggle as I got started. And, it took me a little bit of time to really get a grasp on this. I mean, honestly, it took me a few years before I really fully understood what I was frustrated about. And I was frustrated that I just didn't have control over my own financial capacity. I was frustrated that I wasn't able to, control my destiny, I guess. I wasn't able to control my days. I wasn't able to work on what I wanted to work on. And honestly, that was just an innate thing. No one told me that I should be frustrated about that. I was just feeling it. And so after a while, I started to think, well, wait a minute, is there a different path? And I didn't know. I mean, I thought, it's either this job or it's another job, so get your resume and sort of, build that up and get your time and get your references and start to figure out what else is there. Because again, at this point, I'm still going through the struggle. I didn't know that there was any other, solution. And over time, I started to get more and more frustrated because I would ask for raises and all these kind of things, and I would get them, but it would be more of like these kind of cost of living raises that really everybody got. And I started to notice that, in the corporate environment in which I started in a corporation, and I learned that, people were really moving up or getting certain opportunities. In my mind, I felt like it was more so due to their tenure or due to other politics that may be involved. Who do you know and who likes you and who do you like? And it was sort of building more on that, which of course, I mean, as I look back, certainly, relationships are key. I mean, that's 1000% the truth. And it was then, and it's certainly you know, it's no different now. But if I think back, I started to see that, and I started to think, well, wait a minute. So if I wanted to, get in some certain position, I need to be here truly, another 10 years, so to speak. And I started to think, well, wait a minute. So what I'm doing is I'm essentially putting in just time, and I'm logging in my time to be able to get to where I wanted to go. And it was interesting because I didn't know that there was actually another way, but it did feel that that wasn't appropriate. It did feel that that shouldn't have to be the case, because I've always, maybe this is me being a millennial, right? But I feel like our generation, a lot of times, you know, we think different, which is a great, I think it's a great characteristic of our generation. But I automatically thought, wait a minute, there's something off here. Like, why do I have to just put in extra time? How about what if I'm more valuable? And I started to think about it. I'm like, look, Mark Zuckerberg is, walking around in a hoodie and, sweatpants, and he's worth billions of dollars. And he's, I don't know, at the time he was, in his mid 20s. And I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. Those guys didn't wait decades and decades to live an abundant life. So I started to just kind of like take note of some of these things. And so, over a few more years, I did develop so many skills in this capacity for sure. So I'm not mad about it at all, because it's like what Tony Robbins says: life happens for you and not to you. And it definitely happened for me, because I take so many of the skills that I learned from this time period, and other jobs that I had before that, for sure. So if I look at it and I thought, all right, well, what's next for me, and so I started to kind of think around, and ultimately I decided to get involved in real estate because I'd purchased a house, a few years before that. And I was like, I enjoyed the process working with my realtor. And, the only thing I knew about real estate was just, residential real estate sales, like selling houses. That's when you said real estate, that's what I thought. I didn't even realize I know it's crazy to even say this, but I didn't even realize like other buildings were, you know, quote real estate. So it's just funny because I had no clue about any of this, but I realized that I had some skills that kind of overlapped for this business. I was able to build relationships. I was able to build rapport. I had sales experience, and it was just naturally who I was as a person. I went to a seminar. My realtor, I talked to him about it, and he said, you should go to a seminar at our company. We're having one next Wednesday night. go take a look. And they did a little test, and I took the test, and it basically told me that, my personality would match to, make over $100,000 a year in this business. And I'm thinking, oh my God, that is like, all the money in the world. Six figures is insane in that time period of my life. And so I was like, all right, you have my attention now, because I'm kind of struggling with my, my measly probably $35,000 a year job. And, I was kind of struggling, and I felt like I was working hard and I was more valuable. But certainly as I look back, just as a precursor as well, as I look back, I wasn't as valuable as I thought I was, for sure, in the workplace. But that's neither here nor there. But as I continued to grow, I went into this real estate. I got my real estate license. And so, over the next 6 months or so, I basically doubled my income. And so then I really had my mindset was like, all right, this is really interesting. But I definitely learned very quickly that I didn't really enjoy the residential sales game, just because there was a lot of things that I didn't understand. I couldn't get the aesthetics piece. Like, people would make decisions based on, the color of the paint, or, the countertops or something. And it was always very tough for me, because I felt like, wait a minute, we're not doing this deal because of what? And so, but then I started to learn more about real estate, and I got more of an understanding that, hey, we actually do have other opportunities here within this business that are maybe more aligned with me. And so, I've always enjoyed numbers. I've always been a math person. That was always kind of my nerd life as a kid in school. And so, kind of matching an understanding of numbers and financial calculations and analysis, and then also with a background in market research and market analysis. That's what I studied in college, was marketing. So that's why I say, life happens for you and not to you, for sure. I believe that, because there was all these things that were converging on each other. And so I decided to get into real estate and commercial real estate sales then. And so, I was referred to several groups who owned, multifamily real estate, in addition to offices and retail and, land, and even some industrial property. And so really kind of learned that. And as I got more involved, I became more and more fascinated. I hired a coach, and my coach was always telling me, here's certain books that I've read, and, here's what I learned from this. Here's what I distilled from this. I recommend you do this. And so along that path, I'm thinking, all right, wait a minute. He's talking about a book again. He's talking about this book. And I'm like, all right, but I'm listening, I'm learning, and I'm growing. I'm getting more effective as, a commercial real estate agent, and I'm selling more and more properties. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, I need to read some of these books too. And so, one of the books, of course, that sounds extremely intriguing is Think and Grow Rich. And he talked about it so much. And I'm like, all right, first of all, I want to be rich. All right. And second of all, like, what do you mean Think and Grow Rich? Like, is that just a tagline? But it definitely caught my interest, for sure. So I get that book, read that book. First of all, like, my eyes were crossed reading that thing. I'm like, what is he talking about? Never heard of subconscious mind. Even with a marketing background, I never heard about the subconscious mind. Auto suggestion and all these different things, which are techniques that you can, plant seeds within your own mind in addition to others. I mean, there's so many different ways that you can tap into the subconscious mind within yourself or other people. And so I find it highly fascinating, but that's a little bit of a digression. But, if I think about this, it was such an exciting time, because my mind then began to expand, and I started to realize, wow, the principles that I learned in Think and Grow Rich, I can apply to anything in life, whatever I decide that I want. If I have a desire for something, that's the beginning place. And from there, I can put the pieces in the plan of action together and make it happen. And I started to realize this. I would, forge the relationships that I wanted to have. And I would, acquire other things that I wanted to have in life, in addition to financial abundance. And so that was just like one tiny little piece of the puzzle, but I started to stack all these things on top of each other with my coaching, more books, seminars, conferences. And so I just began this like deep love and passion for, personal development. And in addition to professional development, of course, in my opinion, those two things are one. But it was such a fun process. And so from there, I just have continued to go along that path. I've invested in myself, to acquire the CCIM designation, because I wanted to be an expert in commercial real estate. It's like the PhD of commercial real estate. In addition to that, I wanted to, like Robert Kiyosaki, of course, was another one that totally changed my life. It was like, wait a minute, I don't just have to trade my time for money. I can trade my money for more money and more time. And so, it's a really simple concept, but looking back, I mean, that was another example of a total shift in my life. And so I have just continued to stack these things on top of each other. I started to invest in real estate. I started to invest in real estate about 3 years ago. And so, I've learned so many lessons there. I mean, I've made so many mistakes, and, I continue to get better at this every single day. And I've continued to invest more and more, but I've continued to invest in my business and in my own personal growth and my personal development. And, throughout this entire process, learning from other people and building other relationships and, finding other mentors and having more coaches. I mean, I have another coach today, and we continue to stack on top of everything every single day. And it's a really, really fun process. But at the end of the day, it's all for a purpose. I want to help millions of other people live a life of fulfillment. And I think that with this formula, with, combining personal and professional development, self-growth, self-education, self-discovery, in addition to successfully and effectively investing in income-producing real estate, is the key. And so it's, we live in the most abundant time that has ever been. I mean, the fact that I can speak to you guys right now one time, and it comes to many, many thousands, and I think in the future will be millions of people, is amazing. And so we can all connect, whether we're, in the United States or anywhere in the entire world. And we have so much of an opportunity. And so that's what I wanted Elevate to be, is really a place for people to come and really raise the bar. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what Elevate's all about, is consistently and persistently raising the bar to achieve greatness in real estate and ultimately in your life. Because like I've said several times in this recording, real estate is a vehicle. It is a vehicle for building what you want in your own life. It's not the ends to the means, it's the means to the end. And so I think it's really exciting to be here and to do this, because, at the end of the day, we only have one life to live, and it's really it's not a long life. I mean, obviously we all have to define what that means, and it's unique for all of us, but we have a purpose. Each and every single one of us has a purpose to be here. And I want this show to be sort of, your outlet to be able to identify, what pieces do I need to put in place in my life? And I hope that you find a lot of value from this, because we're giving this. I mean, our team is putting in a lot of effort on this podcast, and, we're putting in a lot of work on this, but it is truly in an effort to give. Like, we're not here to receive anything from you. We are here to learn, for sure. Like, I'm definitely here. I want to learn, and I definitely don't have all the answers. I'm along the journey. I'm kind of like a reporter on this. Like, you guys, let's go on this path together and let's see what happens. I mean, I think I'm really excited, honestly, because I think that, what the outcome of this will be beyond our wildest dreams. And I think if we can all kind of come into this with just curiosity, with excitement and, happiness and joy, then crazy things are going to happen. And I'm really excited. So let's elevate ourselves. Let's elevate our life. Let's elevate other people around us for the right reasons, and come at it with a giving heart, and great things are going to happen. So, I look forward to this. We're going to start to bring on some really, really cool guests, some really nice people, some really smart people. And so, looking forward to adding value to your life and continuing along the mission. But look forward to getting to know all of you as well. Certainly, if you do find value from our show, we really, really do and would appreciate you to, subscribe, number one, and then also give us a 5-star review. I mean, if you really feel like this has the potential that we truly believe in our heart that it does, go out there and give us a 5-star review, because that really it means the world to us, because it allows us to, reach this mission to other people and to more and more people. And at the end of the day, I mean, golly, with 7 billion people, if our goal is to reach millions, that's not really huge. I mean, I think we could certainly go a little bit higher than that, a lot higher than that. And that's what I want to challenge Elevate Nation to do today, is to go out there and, share this with some friends, because, several people in your life that are just punching that time clock, and they're waiting, several more years before they get that promotion, or, whatever it is. And maybe they just don't have that level of excitement or inspiration in their life, and they need it. So share this with them and give us a 5-star review, because there are so many others who you may not know who are in that boat as well, that need to be exposed to this. And it's not that I have all the answers. Again, it is a thought and a concept that was given to me that I'm now passing along. And so we all need to kind of share and help each other, because at the end of the day, people like us are the ones who are going to save the world. They're going to change the world. And, we're going to create abundance for our own families, but we're going to be able to expand that to others, because whoever you're surrounded with is who you become. It's like the 5 people in your circle are, your top 5 people are really who you become, whether it's financially or, physically, emotionally, spiritually, so on and so forth. But if you can be that kind of catalyst as well, think about how we can all change the world. So that's why I say Elevate Nation. This is our duty. This is our time. So let's get excited. And thank you so much. With gratitude, I really appreciate you being here with us today. And I'm really looking forward to sharing with you along this path. And we'll look forward to seeing you next time. And until then, we'll talk soon.
Thank you for listening to Elevate. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and pay it forward by sharing with a friend. Most importantly, take this opportunity to elevate your results by taking immediate action on what you learned. For more, visit tylerchesser.com.